Today we will create an EKS cluster. So what is the meaning of EKS cluster? So EKS is a managed service of Kubernetes. Okay. So before EKS, AWS has given one more solution called as COPS to provision the EKS cluster. But say now the COPS is not supporting. Say on the EC2 instances, they're going to install the Kubernetes cluster using an automation using COPS. But now we have a managed service itself is called as EKS. And if you go for Azure, we have AKS. Otherwise, we have GKE, Google Kubernetes engine we have. Okay, so these all the services we are going to get it. So now if you go for EKS, first we need to design what are the IAM roles we want for the EKS. We require IAM roles also, and we need to design the VPC. Don't expect always we require the public subnets itself. Sometimes we may use the private subnets also, and we need to plan the multiple available zones. We need to spread the nodes because even if one zone goes down also, the cluster should be highly available. So that is the purpose we need to plan for. The subnets need to be spread across multiple available zones we need to design, and IAM also we need to create. Then EKS we can create through GUI or CLI or CloudFormation or Terraform. So we need to, today we are going to create the EKS, and even we can provision through Terraform also. We can provision through Terraform also we are going to provision. And the backend to the, like here we have control plane. The control plane is nothing but master kind of components and nodes. Similar kind of nodes we can create here as the node groups. Okay, so in the backend to the node groups, we can have EC2 or Fargate. So what is that meaning of EC2 or Fargate is? EC2 is like backend we have the nodes are running on the EC2 instances. Otherwise, we have a serverless kind of environment also called as Fargate. So we have a serverless kind of thing. So it depends upon our company requirement in the backend node groups. We can choose either EC2 or Fargate we are going to choose. Okay, so now we are going for an AWS account. Shall I use your account? Checking and login. So now we need to go for EKS. In the services, go for EKS service. So now add a cluster. So here in this, we need to create a cluster. Okay. So we need to give a good name for, okay, so cluster. Assume JPMC I'm going to create. Okay. The next one is, we need to create the Kubernetes version. So we need to create the Kubernetes version. So which version you want, you can choose. As of now, even 1.28 also is there. As of now, EKS is not supporting. EKS is supporting 1.27. And the lowest version as of now, which is supported by Kubernetes is 1.23. That is also till October 11th only they're going to support. That means minimum later they may support only 1.24 or maybe higher versions also we have. We have 1.19, but those are the older versions. Okay. Say whenever you are doing, you try to take 1.23 also, and later try to by October 11th, what we need to do?
We need to update, sir.
Yeah, we need to upgrade. That's also try to practice. Okay. Say create as of now, like any version is fine, but after get an expertise, try to upgrade the Kubernetes cluster also. So here this is very important for the EKS. Again, is going to use lot of other AWS services also. For that, we required in EKS cluster role. Okay, so here we need to create one EKS cluster role. Okay, so where we need to create this is in the IAM we need to create.
So we can upgrade the version to GUI only, or
Come again?
we can upgrade the version of Kubernetes,
Hey,
sir.
EKS
Yeah.
CTL you can do through Terraform. You can do all the methods you need to try.
Okay.
So even in Terraform also, you just modify the version, again need to apply that.
Okay. Understood, sir.
Okay, before doing the update, definitely we need to consider PDB. What is PDB? Part disruption budget. Even if it is a production cluster, without having the effect also, we may need to plan the upgrades.
Oh, understood. Yeah, I got that.
Okay?
It will bring
Yeah,
the
so at
pod
least
to the
minimum
business.
those workloads are available to the users.
Yes, yes. Understood.
Okay? So then, say here we'll go for the roles. So here we need to create a role. Say AWS service. So which use case we are using is for EKS we are going to use. So EKS and here choose EKS cluster role. Okay, EKS and EKS cluster role we need to choose. In this, we have given the lot of permissions like security group, tags, volumes. These all on behalf of us, EKS cluster is going to create. That is the reason we are giving all these permissions. To whom we are giving the permissions to create all these resources? For EKS, we are creating. That is the reason we are creating a role. We are not giving to the user. We are giving the permissions to EKS. Is it fine? If you don't give this permission, then EKS can't create it. So give any name. My EKS cluster role. Say AWS EKS cluster policy we use, and we are going to create the role. So once you create the role, then come to your cluster. So this role we need to choose. My EKS
Cluster row.
cluster role. And if you want any encryption for the Kubernetes, we can use. Later also we can enable this. And I'm going with the default options. Then we need to specify the VPC. In the real time, we can create our own network and our own subnets. Accordingly, we can choose. And minimum, better to choose minimum 2 subnets because it need to go to 2 zones. Even one zone goes down also, the solution should be
Available.
highly available for us. So that is the reason minimum we need to go for 2 zones here. And choose any security group. Automatical, otherwise it may create one security group also. And IPv4 we are choosing. Endpoint internally we can access or outside also we can access. We can choose public, private, or I'm giving the public access to access my Kubernetes from outside also. I can access. If it is internal, we can give. And logging, which of the logs for production, all these we need to enable the logs because we want to troubleshoot API related, otherwise any access related, who are authenticating, controller manager, scheduler. So these all the logs. Normally, if it is in Kubernetes, in the var log, we can get all these. Now, even in EKS also better to enable the logging for this. And the Kube DNS, Kube proxy, these all the different add-ons we have. So later we can deploy. By default, it is installing Core DNS, Kube proxy, CNI. And for production servers, for the security purpose, we need to install Guard Duty also. This is going to enable monitoring. Okay, so in AKS, what happened is in AKS nodes, a lot of people as hacked those servers and they run the blockchain kind of workloads for crypto mining. AKS is not able to identify for a lot of years. Okay.
Like Azure, sir.
In Azure AKS, in the nodes, instead of using our own parts, a lot of hackers used their own crypto mining kind of parts they ran.
For the blockchain, right?
Yeah, blockchain kind of crypto mining. Then what is the problem is we will get the bill and the crypto money will goes to
the hackers.
To the hackers. Okay, so to stop these kind of unused activities, all these, better to enable guard duty kind of thing.
Yes.
It shows all the monitoring information, all those from the security wise. For production servers, it's better to enable
Guard duty, sir.
guard duty. But for us, it's charge the money. Okay, so now port DNS, all these versions we have chosen. Next, then it takes another 5 to 10 minutes in order to create the Kubernetes cluster. It takes 5 to 10 minutes in order to create the
cluster.
The Kubernetes cluster. Let it create the Kubernetes cluster. The same thing you can do even from Terraform also. Terraform. So we have a tutorial, right? The same steps we can do through Terraform also. The same steps we can do through the Terraform also. We are going to provision this. So AWS account and AWS CLI we need. Okay, so git clone this one. So for finally to access that we required so this is the cluster. Try to go through these modules, all this. Here we may have main.tf. Say instead of just creating this, try to understand what are the resources are creating. Okay, so these here we are going to use module, one VPC module is used. Okay, then EKS module. In the EKS module, we are going to use, okay, so here the cluster version is
1.27.
1.27. You want 1.2324 like this, you give. And here this is going to create a node group also. How many instances it is creating? How many node groups it is creating? 1, 2. So similar kind of missions we can create as node groups. In one node group, minimum is 1, maximum is 3, desired is 2. Accordingly, the instances can be auto-scaled. In the second node group, 1, 2, 1 they kept. And different type of instance types you want like this, you can choose different node groups. One node group I want to use for Windows, one node group for Linux, like this also we can choose different type of hardware families we can choose. Similar kind of nodes we can bring into node groups. As of now in GUI also we created only the control plane. Later we need to add the
node groups
also. Again, for node groups also, we need to give the permissions, all those IAM roles we need to give. Node groups are nothing but EC2 instances. The control plane, high availability, all these also has been taken care by
Kubernetes.
Yeah, Kubernetes itself. They don't have only one control plane. Okay, so from this also we need to create. We'll see what's happening here. Still, it is creating this. Okay, after this, you can check the resources, spend a lot of time in all this. See, from here also we can deploy the deployments, replica sets, all these we can see here. kubectl get rs, kubectl get pods, otherwise kubectl deploy and deployment stateful sets. These are all the resources we have. Okay, so if you enable logging, here you can see the logging. For this, there we need to enable the logging. Here also later you can edit and enable the logging. Okay, so what are the updates happen, authentication kind of things, all these we can integrate. And ECR is our registry. We can, instead of Docker Hub, we can store the images in the ECR. In the compute, if you have any nodes, all those, it shows. Okay, so otherwise what we can do is using the Terraform itself in the EKS workspace. EKSworkshop.com, you can go, say, go to introduction, set up, say this in your AWS account. So they recommended to use US West 2 or Europe West 1. Okay, say here we need to go for Cloud 9. So Cloud 9 is nothing but Cloud Shell is there. Cloud 9 is one of the editor. Say here you download all these and CloudFormation stacks we can create. Say using the CloudFormation also, and we can administrate from Cloud 9. Okay, so Cloud 9 is nothing but an IDE editor. Okay, so from this also try to manage. So with all the methods, try to provision the EKS clusters. So first in this tutorial, before this all the steps run on your Cloud Shell. Okay, once it is created, you go to Cloud and we can EKS, ETL, all these will get it. In the Cloud 9, they have already installed kubectl is there, EKS ETL also is there. Okay, then we need to configure the cluster config. Then we are going to connect to the EKS cluster. Okay, once you connect to the EKS cluster, say navigate the labs. So these are all the labs we need to perform. So add your cluster. These all the steps try to do. Okay, even with the CLI also we can do, but Cloud 9 is an editor. We can do a lot of things. And after this, we need to add the node groups. These all you need to perform. So these all the steps you need to perform here. So still it takes minimum 10 to 15 minutes to provision the cluster. We'll wait for this. After this, we need to create the node groups. Yeah, now the cluster has been came to
Active.
active state. Now we need to add the node groups. As of now, some parts, all those also created. In the computing, we can add the node groups. Nodes may be runs on EC2 instances. Otherwise, Fargate also. You want to use a Fargate, then choose Fargate. What is Fargate is? It's a serverless. Based on your pod resources, we are going to increase more resources. Okay, as of now, I'm going to add the node group. Okay, so for node group also, we need to create okay, so it's not EKS, it's an EC2. Okay, for the IAM role, so we need to give the node group. As of now, we don't have node group, right? Okay, so I'm going to create a role itself for the node group also. So create a role, AWS service, but it's not EKS. It's for EC2, we are giving the role. Do you understand, right? So Kubernetes control plane is for EKS, we are giving the role. So now here node group is, it's an EC2. For the EC2 instances, we are giving the permissions to manage Kubernetes and some other permissions like to access the ECR. So these kind of permissions we are giving. Okay, so then in this for node group, what are the permissions we need to give is we have an Amazon worker node policy we have. One policy is there called as EKS worker node policy. Then EKS CNI also. EKS CNI policy and EKS worker node policy, and we need to give one container registry read policy. Container registry like we need to pull the images. For all those, I'm going to give the read permissions. So these all the roles I need to give. I'm going to create a role. Okay. If you have already that role is there, then again no need to give. We can directly use that role. EKS node group is the role. Okay. Say here EKS node group. Okay. So then taints, tolerations, all those we can use. Which type of instance you want? Okay, AMI type also we can choose. Okay, say different node groups may have different AMIs and capacity type. Spot instances you are on demand. Instance type by default we got T3 dot medium. Instead of that, go for T2 dot medium if it is available. So they have T2 dot medium only. They didn't give micro. Sorry, go for T2 dot micro. Then disk size in that 20 GB we are getting. And node minimum how many you want. These all like this we can create multiple node groups also. Desired and minimum I'm keeping 1. We can scale up to maximum to 2. Okay, so this is maximum unavailable is something kind of PDB kind of thing. So only one node maximum unavailable we need to plan. Then as of now those subnets I have chosen. Sometimes some zones are not available, then remove that zones. That subnets you can remove. From the other subnets you can create it. So like this, how many node groups we want, that all the node groups we can create. So the node groups are now getting created. Once we done this, we need to connect to this Kubernetes cluster. So forget also try to add, if it is a serverless, if we want to use, that means for the nodes, you no need to pay the money. Based on the workloads, the forget parts will use and they will charge amount for that. ECS also supports forget, EKS also supports forget. As of now, nodes are there. So once the nodes have been added, we'll see this. So still that node group creation is in the progress. Here we got one endpoint, all these also there. You want to enable the secrets encryption here, you can do later also. So now we need to connect to this Kubernetes cluster. For that, I'll go for Cloud Shell. Otherwise, on the EC2 instance also, we can install kubectl. Only kubectl we need to install. So now here kubectl we got by default, but we need to connect to the EKS cluster. Now first we need to run this. Once we create HTS caller identity, then we need to update the kube config also with this. So once this configured, get pods, all those we can get it. So this will show the basic our account ID, all these it shows. Then we need to set up this cluster name, region name, US East 2 we have. Okay, so this is the kube config. Normally mkdir we configured, right? The kubectl get nodes we have. As of now, still that nodes are like not created. The cluster info, all those commands we can run here in the master itself. Okay, so in the same way, try to provision through Terraform also. And what are the steps we have in this also? Try to perform. Okay, in the introduction they have given here getting started. So these here they have given on what are the deployments you want to do, all these. all these deployments, all these try to create on the instance and services, all these we can create. Okay, so try to provision the EKS cluster. Okay. Yeah. Any doubts?
So, what I've heard, sir, in other videos that T2.micro is the minimum requirement for
No. For the
control
master,
plane.
T2.micro like is not supported.
Okay.
Okay.
So, T2.micro has the configuration of
For
2
the
GB
node,
RAM,
we
right?
can use it. For master, it's not possible.
Okay. Because in that
Because
video,
two CPUs are mandatory.
yeah, 2 CPU and 2 GB RAM, right? So that's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
minimum requirement. And for the node, sir, we can use T2.micro, right?
Yeah.
And T2.medium is for control plane.
Yeah,
Master.
control plane. T2.medium
Okay.
is for control plane. But here in this AWS itself create those
Yeah, it will automatically recommend us to.
automatically.
Yeah. And so, the nodes are required today or
Yeah, no, delete those once you.
no? Nodes, sir, the nodes which you have created today, sir.
Hmm.
Is it required or you can go through the videos on it?
Which nodes?
The nodes you have created, sir, today.
No, you
Notepad.
delete those node groups. Commands
Okay.
for telling.
Yeah, commands which you have.
Okay. In the chat I have shared. So try to create the forget profile also, and through Terraform also to create this.
Yes, sir.
So now clean up those cluster, all those.
Sure, sir. Sure.
Okay, delete all those resources, and I delete the roles also while practicing. Delete those 2 roles also, again create from scratch.
Yes, sir. I'll clean all the things.
Okay, sure.